Welcome back to GTC Live, day 2. Lisa Martin here with CoreWeave. You can see some of the energy behind me, and I gotta tell you, as I've said before, saying it's electric, I gotta find a new word because this is next level. This is the Super Bowl for AI. People have been describing it as a carnival, as the heartbeat of AI. It's all true. Super excited to be joined by Miris, McDonald, Chief Product Officer. Well, thank you so much for spending some time with us. I caught you part of your presentation and the CoreWeave booth yesterday.
Yeah, and thanks for having me.
You have such a cool background, and I want the audience to know this. You worked at ILM, Pixar, Unity, AWS. Now you're building streaming infrastructure for photorealistic 3D at Miris. What drew you to Miris last year?
Yeah, it's funny, you name all those companies. I was thinking about that the other day. Someone might look at my background and was like, wow, this person has shiny object syndrome. Like I've done all these different roles at all these exciting companies. I've really had a really exciting career. It's been a lot of fun for me. And I was thinking about kind of the common thread that connected me to all those experiences. And at the heart of it, I just really like being in a place where I can help both creators and technologists actually deliver what they want to deliver, build what they want to build, and so on. So that's been kind of the common thread, starting when I was at Lucasfilm, all the way fast forwarding today with Miris. And it's interesting, earlier in my career, I was really focused on how do I help artists really create amazing things on screen or amazing experiences. And one of the things that led me to Miris, like fast forwarding to today, is how do I help people actually deliver that content at scale? You've built all this amazing work. How do you get it to where it needs to be? So yeah, it's been kind of a nice little full circle sort of moment. Like I started on the creation side and now I'm over on the distribution side.
I think it's fun when you kind of think back to a career that may look zigzaggy. I have the same thing. Yeah. I started at NASA back in the day and now here I am. But there are common threads. Yeah. And I think when you discover those, I think it just empowers you to want to do an even better job for your customers. Well, CoreWeave has this brand new brand campaign called Ready for Anything. I wanted you to kind of walk us back. When you were doing R&D for ILM or Pixar, what did Ready for Anything infrastructure, what did it mean? What did it look like behind the scenes back then?
Oh, wow, there's so many stories I could tell about that. The interesting thing about film production, be it for VFX or be it for animation, is ultimately you're not shipping software. You're shipping pixels, right? Like all that matters is how it looks on the screen or what you're interacting with in a game. So oftentimes, like production ends up being really messy from a technology standpoint. You're building tools that oftentimes you're having to throw out quickly because it's just used to solve a particular problem for one shot, right? And then after that, off it goes. We're always trying to do our best to build things that are more generalized, that can work for lots of different use cases. But in production, where in the end you just need to get it onto screen and it looks really, really good, you're kind of doing whatever it takes to do that. So that was always a lot of fun, being able to do that. Like working with creatives who are really just, at the height of their powers building incredible content. I've always just loved like helping that sort of persona realize what they want to realize in terms of content.
I imagine that they're very inspirational to you because they have these grand visions that they want to see brought to life, and you've got to figure out how to do that. I imagine the momentum that they kind of carry forward is inspiring.
It is, absolutely. And so like your earlier question, kind of what brought me to Miris, like a lot of the things I was noticing, and a lot of folks at Miris kind of noticed the same, because we've hired a lot of folks from VFX and animation and from the cloud world and so on. Like one of the things that we noticed is that people can build and visualize incredible work, right? But then when it comes time to actually getting it to where it needs to be really, really quickly and at scale, they're kind of stuck between these two options. They're either decimating it down into like a web format that can render in a browser, or they're doing things like pixel streaming where they really just can't scale up to like consumer grade internet, right? And so we thought, hey, how can we help creators and developers actually be able to reach that billion user scale, be able to deliver really, really nice looking content without compromise? So yeah, again, like one of the reasons I'm really excited about being at Miris is like, this allows us to help that set of creators and developers be able to realize that.
Without compromise. That's kind of a key thing that you mentioned.
Right.
When we think about VFX, 3D pipelines, they've always been really compute intensive, but now
Yeah.
enter AI. How is it changing the game in real time?
Yeah, I mean, I came from a world, particularly with VFX, it's very CPU bound. Like a lot of the render engines hadn't started to leverage GPUs. And again, going back to kind of the idea that it's never really been so much about the how per se, it's all been about how do we get the best pixels on screen. So when we start thinking about factoring in things like generative AI and AI just more broadly, it's all about are they providing tooling and a way of being able to get to that final image? And that's just like a really exciting time, I think, in the industry at large, not only for VFX and animation, but also more broadly into things like physical AI, digital twins, retail, right? Like they're all trying to solve similar sort of problems, which is like, if I'm a retailer or a brand, say I'm a Louis Vuitton or a Kate Spade, I want to be able to show the products that I have in the best light possible. I want things like the fabrics to really come through. How might I be doing that? And so a lot of these companies are leveraging traditional 3D approaches like what we've used in VFX and animation for ages, alongside generative AI approaches, and that convergence of technology together is producing really exciting results.
I love that you mentioned some brands that I'm fans of, but this is more than VFX.
Mm-hmm.
This is really transcendental across industries.
Yes.
We were with the Aston Martin Formula One folks this morning.
Mm-hmm.
CoreWeave is a sponsor of the team. I'm a big F1 fan.
Yeah.
And one of the things that struck me is that what happens in the AI race at F1 races and with the car is so influential in other industries.
Yes.
Talk more about the parallels there. You mentioned your experiences VFX, 3D pipelines, but you also mentioned retail, commerce, physical AI, the next frontier. Walk me through how Miris is helping those types of organizations truly accelerate in this age of AI and to be able to not compromise, as you said.
That's right, I mean, I've always been a really big believer, no matter where I've been throughout my career, and Miris in particular, that the best way to drive innovation is alongside a customer. So like when you see innovation from like an F1, they're trying to solve very particular business problems and they're innovating their way through that, which is always just so exciting to see that sort of thing take shape.
Yeah.
Certainly when I was at Industrial Light and Magic or places like Electronic Arts, again, like we're just trying to get to like the end product, the end result. And there's like a lot of innovation that takes place as part of that. I've found that, at Unity or at Amazon, the best way that we were able to really drive like a lot of big leaps in our technology were really around finding those customers that are trying to do things that had never been done before or had like a really gnarly scale problem or a speed problem, cost problem, you name it. Like jumping in there head first with the customer to be able to solve that together, that's where you see the really interesting technology innovation. Like doing it in kind of an ivory tower, people can do that and you can see interesting things from that, but the rubber really hits the road when you've got a partner or a customer you can innovate with together. It's kind of that shared vision, shared goal.
Absolutely. Well, it's motivating, it's inspiring, it's probably helping you push past
right.
what we thought was possible because there's a strong demand for it in these other industries. What is driving the demand for spatial content in retail, in physical AI, in commerce?
Yeah.
Is there a common thread?
I have a fun little story about this. So, and it actually is tied to why I came to Miris also. So, about a year ago, I have a 10-year-old and a 5-year-old. They're both the best boys. And I walk into my 10-year-old, into his room, and he's at his computer, and he's making 3D content, right? So I went to school to make 3D content. 4-year college, I'm learning all these tools like Maya, Blender, I'm learning everything about materials and lighting. It's quite technical, right? It always has been. And here I catch my 10-year-old using one of these generative AI tools to make like very convincing 3D content. I'm like, wow, this is amazing, right? And it dawned on me in that moment that what we're about to see and what's already here is just this absolute tidal wave of 3D content because this barrier of entry to creating the content is just dropping like a rock.
Yes.
It kind of reminds me of, the democratization of video that happened in kind of the early mid-2000s, right?
Yeah.
You saw things like video cameras and video editing software, like the prices come down, become accessible to kids like me, like younger, like picking up camcorders and making my own movies and editing them.
Yeah.
And then what followed that, right? It was things like YouTube, Twitch, Kick,
Yep.
Netflix, on and on it goes, because the amount of content that could be created just like skyrocketed, and then all of a sudden people wanted more channels of distribution.
Yeah, Discord,
and so,
Substack,
exactly.
Yep.
So, fast forward to Miris, like now that I'm seeing this tidal wave on the content creation side really crest because of generative AI and everything going on there, there's just this amazing opportunity to kind of be downstream of this tidal wave and catch that. And so Miris is really trying to solve that problem of like, hey, you've got all this content being created by people that are always been incredibly talented around 3D,
or
but
even
then also
the new creators that don't have an experience with it. I mean, the content creator gig economy is massively growing.
Oh yeah, it's just like that barrier of entry is lowering where, I wouldn't be surprised, my mom could create 3D content. Shout out to my mom. Like
is she on ChatGPT? Because my mom is too.
Oh, she is.
She calls it Chat ABC, but I know what she's talking about.
She's a power user now. It's amazing. But I mean, like these tools like ChatGPT, like the barrier of entry of using them are so low. So when I see that happening for 3D, it's just a really exciting time to say, how do we help people distribute that at scale, right? And that's always been a bit of the problem. It's like, you're either stuck decimating your content to be able to distribute that at scale and then wait for the download or so on.
Right?
Yeah, or
quality.
Yeah, you're compromising quality or you're compromising scale reach, right? And so again, we're kind of in that like big fat middle where we're able to provide like that really high fidelity content, but then be able to uphold things like scale and then have like 2D economics and so on. So yeah, it's an exciting time.
I mentioned that I caught some of your presentation downstairs in the CoreWeave booth. Talk to me about the CoreWeave partnership. What are they? How are they enabling you to enable the creators to just do what's in their minds?
Yeah, one of the things I mentioned in my presentation is, of course we're using CoreWeave GPUs, but like the key unlock and the reason why we partner so closely with CoreWeave is like, yes, the GPUs, but it's actually the AI platform as a whole, right? Like, you can go and rent cloud GPUs from anywhere if you want to, but like the magic of what CoreWeave brings and why we're partnering so closely with them is things like, hey, they've designed their storage solution such that it ties very tightly to GPU workloads and we're getting that nice performance. Things like how we spin up our Kubernetes cluster to be able to handle the scale that we want. Because remember, Miris, like we're looking at assets coming through our pipeline where we could be dealing with thousands, tens of thousands, millions of assets to process potentially in a single day. Like we need a platform that's not only be able to scale up GPUs, but like throughput through storage, be able to scale the infrastructure as a whole. So CoreWeave's been really exciting to work with, namely because they're an AI platform. They're optimizing around workloads that we're optimizing around. And so like that partnership together has worked really, really well for us at Miris.
And what are the problems that architecture is helping you to eliminate for your customers?
It's scale, namely, right? Like scale is like our huge, huge driver of this. So you can kind of think of Miris, if you think about something like pixel streaming historically, what happens is you have users on the other side that say, hey, I want to view this 3D asset. On the back end, a service might say, I'm going to spin up all this cloud infrastructure and then deliver that to you in like pixel streams, right? Like in buffers. But the problem is like, you're having to spin up a GPU per user, right? So at Miris, what we do with CoreWeave is we flip that equation. We say, hey, look, we're going to take your asset and we're going to spin up a GPU upstream of distribution. And so we're running all these GPUs and we're using the latest hardware from NVIDIA and obviously from CoreWeave to be able to do this. But we do that once effectively per asset. And then when it comes time to actually deliver that to customers or clients, like GPUs are effectively out of the equation at that point.
Okay.
And so like that ends up allowing us to deliver at billion user scale. It's not because we're not using GPUs, it's namely that, again, we flipped this equation such that we're using it upstream of distribution, and that's the big unlock.
I imagine that's a pretty big differentiator for Miris, flipping the script and going upstream.
Yes, yeah, it's a big deal, and like the other part of this is like, the reason why it's an AI and ML sort of workload is what comes out the other side of Miris is not meshes. It's not the things that we've been using over the last many decades, right? What comes out the other side of Miris is actually volumetric content.
Okay.
We're using things like radiance fields and so on to be able to effectively construct a representation of your asset that allows us a lot of flexibility to be able to deliver the content at scale and in a very adaptive way. And that's actually paid off huge for us because it allows us to do a lot of creative things in terms of optimization. If you think about things like physical AI or robotics, one of the things we hear often from those customers is that, hey, I want to run all these simulations, but I got to load all this 3D, gigabytes, terabytes worth of data. I only have so much VRAM on these GPUs, now I can only run maybe one simulation at a time. Because Miris is able to stream, now all of a sudden we can very creatively kind of bin pack the VRAM, evict what's not being used, what the robot isn't seeing at any given time. Now all of a sudden these companies can run 20, 30 simulations on the same GPU. So for them it's a huge cost savings and it allows them to actually scale up even more as a result. That's the scale story. That's right, exactly.
And so what are you guys demoing in the CoreWeave booth downstairs?
Yeah, we've got a couple of interesting things we're showing. So namely, we're showing a digital twin presentation. So really high fidelity visual content that's being streamed. So it has the same visual fidelity that you might expect from like a pixel stream, but as we've discussed, it's not a pixel stream. It's being rasterized right there on the computer, but we're able to stream that in a very adaptive way. So, say we have bad Wi-Fi in here, it's fine, right? Like we'll adapt based on those conditions.
Okay.
And say you want to look at it up real close, we'll stream that content. So we're showing a really high detailed turbine motor, right?
Oh,
so,
yes, I saw that in your presentation.
Yeah,
that was
same
awesome.
one, right?
Okay,
we have an even better one in the demo, so you have to see it. But you can zoom in and it like automatically resolves, right? It's really, really cool.
You showed, I forget who the comparison was on the left side. The speed difference was dramatic.
Yeah.
With what General Acme versus Miris, it was like, ooh.
Exactly.
Wow factor.
So, and like that's so important because when we talk to like retailers, like people building like product configurators or advertisers, right? Their big thing is like, hey, I want to get my customers into this experience, but in the current like web download model, they're waiting 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, maybe even up to 30 seconds. And what they've told us is like, we see people just churning out of those experiences because they're so used to the experience being broken or not loading. The fact that we can show something, like the fact that we can show something just boom, instantly is a game changer for them because now all of a sudden you've got that customer in the experience. They can start using it right away. And like you can kind of extrapolate that out from like retail customers to physical AI, digital twin, media and entertainment, so on. Like who's going to turn down speed, right? Like everyone wants things faster.
Yes.
No one is saying, hey, it'd be cool if it's slower.
Less data slower, yes.
Yeah, right. No one's asking for this.
There's no sticker for that.
No, there is
no
not. Slow is good. It's not a great sticker. Yeah.
So if a Fortune 500 leader is watching this, and and if they're wondering, is my use case ready for AI infrastructure, what would you tell them now to flip that script?
Yeah, well, I'd say number one, the status quo is toast, right? Like things are changing at such a rapid rate, and things, just talking about computer graphics in particular, we've been so used to living in a like polygon world forever, and polygons will persist, right? Like they're not going anywhere, but things that we're seeing in like the radiance field, Gaussian splat, et cetera space are accelerating to such a degree that what I would tell people, leaders in the Fortune 500 companies, and using that as an example, is like be mindful of like how fast all of this is changing and stay ahead of the adoption curve, because what we're seeing is in effect an exponential curve, like maybe even beyond an exponential curve. And it's really like a good time every day. Like when I wake up in the morning, I'm seeing the world subtly change, right? Sometimes not even subtly. And so for me, like really staying very close to all the innovation that's happening in computer graphics and AI in general, and how you can like train your workforce to take advantage of that. Really take a second, third, fourth look at how you can move faster, scale to like billions of users. Like what could that potentially look like? It's just all changing completely, and it's an exciting time to be a technologist.
It is such an exciting time because, I mean, I can't even imagine what we're going to be talking about next GTC.
Oh, I can only imagine.
Is it fair to say though that Miris plus CoreWeave, are you enabling your customers to get ahead of that curve, because so many folks are behind? But you're saying it's realistic with these two companies. You could get ahead of this. Yeah,
absolutely. And again, like this is where the CoreWeave partnership has been so vital, because they have this same vision of like computer graphics is having this shift, this moment. And so, going back to like my 10-year-old son's like use case, right? we're seeing just like this deluge of 3D content. How do we provide a platform together that can truly scale to that? How can we get content where it needs to be? How can we take even like really rich physical AI, multi-gigabyte, ranging into terabyte sort of content? How can we get that to where it needs to be? And how can we get it to a place where upwards of billions of people can all see that at the same time? Like that, all of those things, like we talk about scale, fidelity, cost, and speed. When you're able to like hit all those 4 things in parallel, again, that's where the magic is. So
that's nirvana.
It is, right? Like that, kind of going all the way back to where we started, like in my career, like being able to build a platform that allows you to kind of unleash 3D content at scale to get it to everyone, like that's kind of the holy grail for me, is to be able to help creators and developers do that.
And I'm sure that you from 10 or 15 years ago couldn't even imagine where we are in 2026.
Oh no, I mean, I was, in my early 3D, years, I was used to like downloading off the network, like gigabytes of data, coming back the next day, right?
Yes.
Like rendering massive frames that could take weeks, right? Like, like some of these things will persist, but like again, like things are changing at such a rate. Like the idea that I can take a 10 gigabyte asset and get that to someone in almost an instant. If you told me that 20 years ago, I'd be like, oh, well, you've solved the speed of light, right? And we've not, by the way. So the speed of light persists, but the techniques of being able to do that have radically changed. And again, it's exciting.
Last question for you. You've been to 4 or 5 GTCs before. What is different this year, even compared to last year?
Oh, I mean, look at down here. It's just like wild, right? Like
It is wild.
I've been to so many conferences, right? GTC included, and what I'm like noticing about GTC, when you talk about like an exponential, like the energy at GTC is like on this exponential curve. Like it's really, really high this year. I was noticing even yesterday, like just the sheer number of people here is like incredible. And it's not even, like you go to a lot of these conferences and it's like, the experience is like within the exhibit hall. GTC has gotten to the scale where it's like spilled out, and there's like a whole festival outside.
Yeah, it is like a festival.
Yeah, it's just, I was walking in the other day, I heard like a live band singing a country song about physical AI.
No.
And I'm like, wow, like, I don't know if this is like the sign of a bubble or what, but whatever it is, like, it's pretty incredible.
I love it. And Miris has a beta program. Tell the audience a little bit more about the beta program.
We've got a beta program starting on March 24th, so next week. We are hard at work at making it a great one. We're signing people up now. We're going to start letting people in on the 24th, and we're really excited about it. We're very interested in seeing what people create and distribute on this platform.
In this beta, what will they have unique access to from Miris?
They'll have access to the full thing, right? So you'll be able to upload 3D content. So we support OpenUSD, similar to our friends over at NVIDIA. So that's why we partner with NVIDIA quite a bit also. You'll be able to upload OpenUSD content. We take it from there. We condense that into our volumetric streaming content, and out the other end, you'll be able to see it in our software. You'll be able to take that and within a few lines of code, integrate that into a web application. So 3JS as an example, you don't have to redo everything. It just seamlessly works with 3JS.
And it's accessible from the Miris website?
That's right, yeah. So all you need to do is take the asset ID, have a little bit of code. We've got plenty of tutorials and documentation galore, and you can get up and running super fast.
I bet you cannot wait to see the use cases that explode from this.
Oh yeah, I'm very excited.
Candy store, I imagine.
Yeah, we've got a few early customers, and just seeing not only like the visual quality, but also just like the scale that they're talking about. Yeah. Again, like talking to like the 20 year in the past version of me, like I couldn't have fathomed, right?
Oh, no. So I can't even imagine. I can't even like think out to next year because. Generative AI is so fast, agentic and everything. But thank you for sharing your story, the common thread of what you bring in, but also the massive impact that Miris and CoreWeave are making on other industries besides VFX, retail, commerce, physical AI. Cannot wait to hear what's next because I'm sure it's going to be fantastic. But thank you for stopping by.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah.
For Will McDonald, I'm Lisa Martin, coming to you live from CoreWeave's booth at GTC Day 2. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you on the next episode.